Welcome you in to this very brief edition of the Wave News Extra live stream. Folks, taking a look from what is at least a calmer view of the skyline, thanks to our SkyTrack camera network. But yeah, you probably are hoping to get some reprieve from the rain. Unfortunately, Thursday, not looking that much more different. But we could talk about Friday when that time comes. The storm tracking team will walk us through all that. In the meantime, Jose Sosaya here in the Wave Now studio, working a little bit of a longer shift for the week. If you might see me working on the other shows, just filling in for Miss Dawn G while she takes some well-deserved vacation. But just want to let you all know about the stories that we are working on, the things that we've been covering throughout the day, and we'll continue to work on the reporting and any breaking news as we stick around to work this late hour of the night. And thankfully, as you all are hopefully wrapping up with your work shifts and just sort of, de-stressing, decompressing from what's been a busy Wednesday so far. So we'll jump right into just the continued interviews and conversations we've been having with military veterans across Wave Country, especially now in the context of what was the, that American military decision of the action against Iran now going into, whatever the fifth day today. And you've heard leadership from Washington discuss it, and then the response of the strikes in other countries and installations in the Middle East. But the impact of that was the names that you've probably heard described as 4 of the 6 service members who were killed in Kuwait: Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Noah Teachins and Nicole Amore, and Sergeant Declan Cody. They were all part of a reserve unit in Des Moines, Iowa, is what we learned, under the Fort Knox-based 1st Theater Sustainment Command. That was the operational command post in Kuwait. But the deadly attack on Sunday now hitting very close to home to leaders in Radcliffe, officials at Fort Knox putting out that statement earlier this morning, even families in Vine Grove and Radcliffe saying that they're wanting to offer their support in whatever way they could. What we heard today was our Logan Perone talking to a retired Lieutenant Colonel, Stacey Bathrick, who in this, what you're about to hear, is her describing that support goes far beyond just the geographic Fort Knox region.
Freedom isn't free, it's expensive. And we should be proud of our military who serves selflessly, who volunteers to serve, to represent all of us. They are about 1% of our entire nation that chooses to represent all of us in a time of conflict. And there's nobody that wants peace more in this world than a U.S. service member.
Now, Wave News did reach out to the 103rd Sustainment Command. They could not confirm if the reservists had been to Fort Knox before going to Kuwait. The 2 other soldiers killed on Sunday through the War Department or the Defense Department, those have not been disclosed as of just yet. But we do know from leaders in Congress, Senator Mitch McConnell, in this case, taking to the floor in the afternoon to share criticism of a resolution that would limit presidential military authority that would regard Iran. Specifically, McConnell argues that recent U.S. operations were an attempt to end a, quote, nearly half-century war that McConnell says was initiated by Tehran and the regime that existed there. McConnell and the floor citing years of presidential military actions in the past, President Ronald Reagan's strikes on Libya, President Biden's operations against Houthis in the Middle East. McConnell defending President Trump's use of force, calling it a tough decision intended to transform, as he put it, the Middle East.
But there are risks involved. And I hope his administration will work to explain the connection between the commander-in-chief's worthy objectives and the military and diplomatic means to achieve them. Connecting ends and means is the essence of strategy. And it's important for the administration to explain to the American people how they intend to do so. In turn,
McConnell later talked about how the U.S. military apparently is currently unprepared to face, quote, aligned adversaries on multiple fronts because of budget failures and industry delays. Conversations that will be, continuing with debates on the Senate and the House floor as this matter continues. What we're going to do is come back to, closer to home in this case, and it's an update to a story that our David Mattingly was working on when we first learned of what LMPD shared. And it was not just the arrests they made, but the describing of, they say, more than $500,000 worth of stolen cars and parts. They were describing this as a chop shop scheme, cutting up and selling parts of stolen cars and trucks. And you'll see some of the pictures of the 5 people arrested so far, and LMPD serving warrants at 5 different locations across Southwest Louisville. Wave News reporter David Mattingly, in this case, it was his hard work, and he explains some of the details here.
A metal-sided building sits silent near PRP on Woodland Drive. No sign of activity. But we do find multiple pickup trucks and SUVs parked outside. A neighbor not wanting to be identified tells us about a year of suspicious activity.
Right after they moved in, all kinds of odd behavior, cars coming and going in the middle of the night, hear machinery grinding, doors opening, wreckers in and out.
We find a similar story on Mitchell Hill Road in Fairfield. No sign of activity at this building either. But on the property, we see a stack of truck beds and multiple vehicles in various stages of disassembly. Owners of the pet spa next door witnessed constant coming and going for months of people and vehicles.
I just noticed a lot of cars back and forth. Sometimes they would park in our parking lot, and then they'd be gone like 5 minutes later.
Police arrest 5 so far. Charges include trafficking and stolen vehicle parts and engaging in organized crime. Officers recovered parts from 25 vehicles valued at $650,000, as well as a device that reprograms key fobs. Chief Paul Humphrey credits old school detective work.
You can see that this is a litany of cases that we put on these people, and we are hoping that this puts a dent in some of the car thefts that we have in the area, as well as keeps these people in jail for a significant amount of time.
And David, in his reporting, also learning it wasn't just how far away these cars were linked to locations like New Mexico and Canada. Some of them were cars also from, places that their home base was considered right here in the Louisville Metro. All right, folks, we're going to reset to go through some more stories I want to share with you on the other side of this break on the live stream here from the Wave Now studio. Always appreciate you joining us, whether that is through your Wave Now apps on your smart TV devices, on your Roku, your Apple, your Fire TVs, or connecting with us on the live stream here at Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Always great to connect with you there. We'll be right back after this. I should remember to hit the buttons sometimes. Here we are back in the Wave Now studio. This next story I want to share with you. You might be startled to see what was captured on this camera that we do have access to when our Wave news crews go report on these arraignments in court But the background of the story is a man who's accused of killing another man and a dog inside of an old Louisville apartment. Well, he's out of the hospital in Metro Corrections, and a judge set his bond at $1 million. This is what our Fernando Garcia Franciscini was working on today to sift through the details in this disturbing case. And you could see perhaps just visible signs of just the bizarre nature of it all. But the man you just saw there is Charles Gerlach, and we learned he most recently worked as an in-school security monitor for JCPS. He showed up in court today with that bruised up face because he was just discharged from the hospital. But the injuries apparently happened when he jumped from a fourth floor apartment at the Lofts on West Ormsby Ave last Thursday. And inside that apartment where police say he jumped out of, officers found a man who'd been stabbed to death, and his body was hidden behind a mattress in a closet. And on top of that, they then found a chihuahua in the sink who'd been stabbed and drowned. Officers telling prosecutors that Gerlach admitted to committing the crimes, but today the man's public defender argued that the bond should be reduced to $100,000. The judge saying that the risk to the community, though, was too high.
The danger here is way too significant. The seriousness is way too significant. That would unduly depreciate the seriousness of this allegation.
So as for the specific charges, it's murder, torture of a dog, abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence. There is a spokesperson with JCPS that Fernando did reach out to, that they're following policies regarding Gerlach's specific status within the district. We asked for clarification about that protocol, but have not heard back as of yet. We also know he's scheduled to appear back in court on March 12th. Coming back here into the studio, as JCPS also let us know that Central High School, maybe, unfortunately for parents of kids who go there or families of the staff, that they had to go on a temporary lockdown today because there was word that someone who shouldn't have been there, a suspicious person, tried to get inside the building. I want to show you an image of the man who police say they arrested. It was 33-year-old Derek Mosley, and now charged with disorderly conduct and criminal trespassing. A police report we've read now says that officers found Mosley outside of campus, but trying to get into the front entrance of the building, that he forced his way through the door, forcing officers to draw their weapons before he was then taken out of school grounds and arrested. There was a letter sent home to families describing what had happened. Central's principal says all students were safely moved inside the cafeteria and the large gym during the lockdown, and that no students or staff were hurt. Coming back in here, a little bit of a recap, just because you probably all heard that alert come onto all of our cell phones, our Androids, iPhones, all of our smartphones at around 10:07 if you live here in Jefferson County. Again, just to let you know, this is for Kentucky Severe Weather Preparedness Week. This was the statewide tornado drill day to make sure you and your folks knew what to do in case there was a real tornado. Just a reminder that you should have a plan for when it happens, what to do near you, whether you're at home, at school, at work, or in this case, where we spent some time this morning to prepare for the scenario, was a pool at a local Louisville Metro Rec Center. And here they are describing what they would have done at this particular place at Mary T. Marr.
There are some locker rooms that we don't use because there's glass windows in those locker rooms. So we want to make sure that we get everyone to safety. And part of that is not letting anyone leave the building also while the sirens are going off, because that is a liability for us as well as unsafe for them to leave during a tornado.
Again, all these things to consider about, minimizing your risk, because, a tornado could blow through glass and other materials, wanting the most structurally sound part of your home when these emergencies do happen. Thankfully, on a night like tonight, in this stretch, as I like to call it, of wave country, observing the skyline from Jeffersonville, all quiet for now. But rest assured, the storm tracking team following any and all updates to all this, preparing us for Thursday and looking forward especially to Friday, where we'll call that shorts weather, a taste of spring and summer. It'll be short-lived, but something we can all look forward to. We're going to reset again, a very brief live stream today in the Now studio, but I'll have some other stories to share with you on the other side of the break here on Wave News Extra. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us here in the Wave Now studio. And shout out to all the folks joining us and commenting, interacting on the live stream, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube in this case. Shout out to Lee Cahill. Lee, perhaps one of those familiar names joining us on this live stream. So appreciate you checking in. Watson Hogg talking about perhaps those alerts on the Kentucky tornado drill day that phone didn't sound. Perhaps those sirens also might be something you would want to double check with your local municipal leaders. Hopefully, on that front for the sirens, everything's working out as it should. And with your phone, by the way, downloading a great resource like the Wave Weather app, we also make sure to send that information out if and when these things happen in weather emergencies, because we know what's going on. We'll get that alert and then want to disseminate that to as many of you out wherever you are as quickly as possible, just so we cast as wide a net as possible and make sure you know what to do if emergency is around the corner. Our last batch of stories to share with you guys tonight is something coming up a little later this week. It's patients at Norton Children's Hospital, and they're going to want to share their stories, as you see there, to raise money to support others like them. They're going to go on the air on 99.7 DJX and other stations that are part of Alpha Media. They do the Radiothon. This is actually the 17th year they've done this. Thursday and Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Families who they bring on to talk about their stories will discuss how, in this case, the hospital helped get them the necessary care that their kids needed. The kids, of course, the stars of the show, getting to see perhaps what it takes to put on a radio broadcast, which I'm sure, even if perhaps radio is not the type of medium that they interact with on a day-to-day basis, that I'm sure they'd be very interested to check it out. And of course, they're hoping to encourage people to donate to that mission. These last two stories we'll talk about in the world of sports for you fans out there. And for Notre Dame fans, I know this B-roll will feel very familiar as now we're learning about the loss of college football coach Lou Holtz. His family saying that he died in Orlando, Florida tonight. Cause of death, they didn't provide that just yet. But Holtz, over a legendary career, 33 seasons at 6 schools, pretty much most well known for his time at Notre Dame. He was the last coach to lead the Fighting Irish to a national championship in 1988. He retired from coaching in 2004 while then wrapping up his career at the University of South Carolina. Again, Holtz was 89 years old. So for college football, a big name and a big loss there. The last story we'll share with you is tie-in to our Wave sports team, and Lynn Family Stadium about to get very busy the rest of the year. It's not just racing Louisville, it's Lou City, both preparing to kick off their seasons, hoping to build on regular season success, but still not have it be so elusive that they can't come home with the championship cup. Sports reporter Dusty Baker previews both squads' seasons ahead.
The 2026 soccer season will be packed with action on the pitch. Of course, the World Cup is coming up. But before we have that, Lou City and Racing Louisville kicking off their 2026 seasons. For Lou City, they are trying to chase yet another Players' Shield. They've won back-to-back Players' Shields, but they still remain in search of the ultimate prize.
We're certainly not satisfied with the way that the last 2 seasons have ended there in the playoffs.
While Lou City captured their second straight Players' Shield in dominant fashion, the boys in purple were bounced in the first round.
I think we learned a lot in the last 2 years, really.
Now for Danny Cruz and his squad, the mission is clear: turn regular season dominance into a playoff run that actually lasts.
The experience that the players have gone through have certainly put us in a better position.
As for Racing Louisville, 2025 was a historic one, with the club reaching the postseason for the first time in franchise history.
Doing what we did and achieving what we achieved last year, we climbed that mountain.
The bar has officially been raised, making the playoffs no longer the goal and instead the expectation.
But now we've met that. But now pressure is a privilege, and that's kind of what we've been talking about in the locker room.
There is some hardware here as well for Racing Louisville, of course, winning the Women's Cup this past season, but they too are in search of the ultimate prize of winning a championship after punching their ticket to the playoffs just a year ago. Both Lou City and Racing kicking off shortly. Lou City on Friday on the road at Lexington, Racing on the road on the 14th at North Carolina. Reporting at Lynn Family Stadium, Dusty Baker, Wave Sports.
And for the home crowd, and we appreciate Dusty with that awesome preview there. Lou City's home opener is going to be on the 14th. Racing's will be on the 20th. For when that is updated, we'll make sure to let you all know the best resources where we'll send, all of our breaking news, original reporting, deep troubleshooters investigations, and all the other things we want to make sure to share with you. It's on wave3.com. When that is uploaded here, it's also sent to your phones with those push alerts. Always a great reminder to get as connected as possible with all the different ways Wave News is out there. That's going to do it for us. Just under 8:30 tonight, folks. Bit of a long week for yours truly, but just want to make sure to spend a little time here in the Now studio. Talk about some of the stories that we've been checking in on throughout the day. Our Julie Richardson working tonight for the Wave News at 11 newscast, working on some stories there. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned letting us know as we go to bed tonight. Expectation is Thursday is going to be even wetter than what we saw today. Finally, just getting to Friday and hoping for just a breath of warm, dry, fresh air. I was telling Ryan Hogle a little earlier this evening, that'll feel like medicine for the soul. That's going to do it for us, folks. We'll see you back here soon. Until then, take care.